Hello, everybody. Welcome, Pixie. Great to be with you.
Thank you. Nice to be with you, James.
How's the weather?
It's great. It's sunny and no wind and the sky's clear.
We in the UK, we tend to talk about the weather all the time. My wife, she's from a different country, and when she first came to this country, she said to me, "Why does everyone talk about the weather?" And that's all she talks about now. So yeah,
She's a Brit now, a true Brit.
I think that she realizes that the weather is a major problem. It has its ups and downs, and you have to manage it. So she now realizes that. So, Pixie, I first found you on the bobbeck.com website. You put your testimonial on there, and I read your testimonial. I loved the energy and the determination in your testimonial. When you wrote that, yeah, when did you write it, by the way?
Pardon me?
When did you write the testimonial? How long ago was it?
Oh gosh, it was about 7 years ago.
It's a long
Yeah,
time.
soon after I completed the Bob Beck Protocol.
Have you read it recently? Or
I have not. I have not.
okay, so you've still got your photo on there. I saw it
Yes.
two days ago. I popped onto the Facebook page, and your testimonial actually is on the top of the Facebook page.
Oh, nice.
Which yeah, I mean it's a great testimonial. So yeah, so you had cancer, and can we go back to the beginning of when this first started? How did it all start for you, Pixie?
Well, it started through a CA-125 blood test. I had no symptoms, so I didn't know. In fact, I didn't even know my doctor was testing me for CA-125. And CA-125 is a blood test that tests the cancer cell protein levels in the blood. And these proteins are secreted by the ovaries. And my levels were really high. So that's how it all began.
So what were the signs that you had? What did you, when it first began, how did you feel within yourself?
When I first heard the news,
Yeah, I mean, so did you not know anything about it, or how did it all
no,
start?
well, I didn't know my doctor was testing for CA-125, and I didn't even know what it was.
Okay.
And I had no symptoms, so I was in total shock when she told me about it.
Do you know what the typical symptoms are for the type that?
Yeah, I do. Most women don't even know they have issues with their ovaries because they don't feel anything. They have no symptoms. But if you do get symptoms, it's usually pain within the lower abdomen. And most women don't think, oh, it's my ovaries. They just think, oh, maybe I have some issues with my intestines. Maybe I didn't eat properly, or maybe it's something I ate, or sometimes they'll be exercising and they'll feel discomfort in their lower abdomen, and they'll think, I just overexercised, I just overdid it. But most of the time you don't feel anything. And if you do, the pain is usually light, or it just kind of comes and goes. And, you're not going to assume it's issues with your ovaries. Sometimes it can be intense too, but a lot of times it goes unnoticed. And if your doctor's not testing you for the CA-125, I mean, how would you know until you're in the advanced stages of cancer?
So in Canada, is this something that your doctors typically do? Do they test for this, or is it something that he just randomly did at that time?
I don't totally know the answer to that question. I know with my friends, their doctors don't test them for CA-125. My doctor's pretty strict and always has been. And she, every year since I was 19 years old, she tests for everything, like literally everything. And even some of my friends, their doctors don't test them for their vitamins and minerals when they go for their yearly physical. And I think that's kind of ridiculous because my doctor always does it. So I don't know if all doctors do it, Well, I do know that my friends' doctors don't do it, but just generally, I don't know if it's something that doctors normally test for.
I would like to talk about that actually later. The idea that your doctors they test for, is it deficiencies they test for?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Vitamin mineral deficiencies. Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, it certainly doesn't happen in the UK. Hopefully in the
Oh,
future it might. But I mean, you would have to pay to have a full blood analysis to look at deficiencies um, with regards to nutrition
yeah.
in the UK. So I'm hoping that one day
I
we
thought it was
begin.
standard.
No, it certainly isn't. I've had it once, and that's because I paid for it and it was private. So yeah, it's not something they do. Um, what I was going to ask you is, so once you got that feedback from your doctor that it, so what was the reading that you got, and what should the reading be for somebody of different age groups? Do you know the different age groups that the reading should be, or?
I don't know age groups. I
Okay.
know it's usually ovarian cancer happens in somebody who's older, like over 40, but I really don't know the age group. And the CA-125 number, your number should be between 0 and 37. Supposedly you're safe if you're within that range. Mine was at the highest, it was 39. But then when I did the Bob Beck protocol, it went down to 12. And my doctor said, that's good. She said she's never seen a 0. And she's 65 now, and she's been practicing for 40 years or 35 years.
So your doctor has been following you for the last 7 years, and what is her thoughts on it?
About the Bob Beck protocol?
Well, about everything that you've done, because obviously you've done it your way, and
Yes.
has
Very
she
stubborn.
asked you questions? Has she begin to wonder what the process was or anything like this?
I had to give her information. I went to bobbeck.com and I printed out some information on the 4-step Bob Beck protocol, and I gave it to her, and she has said nothing. And I still think to this day, she doesn't believe that I got my number down to 12, my CA-125 number down to 12 due to doing the Bob Beck protocol. In fact, I do it every year now, just as general maintenance, but
Do you do
yeah,
it just for her as well?
yeah, should.
One day she's going to ask me.
Yeah, I wish. I wish.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you're much luckier in the respect that at least you could give that to your doctor. I was not in that situation. When it came to the stage, I was documenting everything for my doctor, and they just simply weren't interested. It's just like, we don't want to
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
that's because they sign the Hippocratic Oath, and if you begin to if they begin to say I'm interested, then they have to then perhaps inquire about it, and that becomes more of a problem because that is not their perhaps field of expertise. But also when they begin to look at this, they have to take it further. I haven't gone down and looked into that in detail, but I just presume that is not their field, and they just can't go down that avenue because that's not what the type of medicine they practice.
Exactly.
That's a shame, but I'm hoping that things will eventually change as we move forward. Yeah, through these kind of conversations that we have with one another, more and more people begin to talk and discuss things in a way that's helpful for everybody. I'm hoping that things begin to alter a bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking that way too,
We can only but try.
for sure.
So I have some more questions for you, Pixie. Um, I get lost in the conversation, and then my questions just like, where are they?
That's okay.
So my next question is, yeah, can you tell me what your initial thoughts and feelings were when you began to realize that you had a problem on your hands, that you were dealing with something that perhaps you didn't possibly think that you was going to have to deal with. I mean, these thoughts that we're told, this is serious, you're going to die, and all these other. I mean, it's frightening, isn't it? That you have to start to contemplate, what am I going to do? Can you tell me, like, how you felt when you got told this prognosis, and kind of how you initially felt you're going to deal with it, and then you began to have that insight and the courage to begin to say, Pixie can deal with this?
Okay, that's a lot of questions in one. Well, when my doctor initially told me that my CA-125 number was high, well, first of all, she didn't give me any warning. She comes into the exam room and she immediately starts talking, and she didn't give me any choices. She said, okay, your CA-125 number is really high. I'm going to send you to a doctor. It's day surgery. She's going to put 2 incisions in your stomach. She's going to put a camera down there. She feels like she needs to take your ovaries out right there and then, and she's going to do so. Make sure you give her permission beforehand. This is how she approached it. And I thought, I was in total shock, because I've always been a healthy person, and I eat healthy. I have a healthy lifestyle. So I was in total shock and disbelief. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, I'm going to be another statistic. Now I'm getting emotional. Sorry, I didn't think I was going to do this. And I said to myself, how can this be? I've always been, since my mid-20s, I've always taken care of my health. How can this be? And then the fear kicked in. And then I started to cry. See, I'm getting weepy. But I'm healthy, so I don't need to get weepy. So then, yeah, the fear kicked in. I started to cry, and I told my doctor, I don't want to have my ovaries taken out. And she said, okay, fine. This is what we're going to do. We're going to send you for an ultrasound. And so she did. I went for an ultrasound, and this doctor said, oh, it looks like it's your left ovary. Then my doctor said, okay, let's send you to another doctor for an ultrasound just to compare. And so this other doctor said, no, it's not your left ovary. It looks more like your right ovary. And my doctor said, okay, we're going to send you for an MRI. That was a little scary because I'm a bit claustrophobic. So I had to go on this tight machine. So anyway, that doctor sent the report to my doctor saying that none of them were in agreement. It was inconclusive, and so none of these 3 doctors were in agreement with what was happening with my ovaries. They knew their structure's there. It looked like it was cancer, but can't be proven until they cut me open and look down there. So that's when I started ignoring my doctor's phone calls, and I started doing all this research online about how to cure my own ovaries, get that CA-125 number down to a healthy level. So I just went online. I went to various websites. I went to YouTube. I also, listened to people's testimonials. I read about people's testimonials. And then one day I stumbled across bobbeck.com. And I actually went to YouTube, and I watched some of his videos. Then I came across Sharing Health with Carol Punt. So that made me really happy. And then they led me to soda. And then as soon as I found soda instruments, I immediately ordered all the equipment for the 4-step Bob Beck Protocol and started doing it.
Can you tell me what equipment you actually ordered, what devices that you got?
Yeah, I got the magnetic pulsar. I got the blood electrification instruments. I got the ozonated water maker, and I got the colloidal silver maker. Actually, I got 2 colloidal silver makers so I can make double. So that's what I bought.
So from there on, when you purchased them, was you in the protocol for how many minutes or hours did you start with?
Yeah, I did it a little differently. Like, I did watch videos with Dr. Ben Joseph. I don't know if you know him, but he talks about, oh, you don't, I'll have to send you a link for him. But he's a promoter of the Bob Beck Protocol. I forget what I was going to say now. Anyway, I did a little differently than what was recommended. They said do it for a month. Is that for 2 hours? I'll do the blood electrification for 2 hours. And I actually spread it out because I was, this is new to me. I don't want to feel ill in any way, which I didn't. So I did it for 2 months. I did the blood electrification for 1 hour.
Did
I
you start on
did.
1 hour a day? Did you start
Yeah,
on 1 hour
no, I
stretching?
built up slowly. I started
Okay.
with 15 minutes, then 30, then 45, then an hour. So I did the blood electrification for an hour. I did the magnetic pulsing right on my ovaries, with the paddle on my ovaries. I did that for the 20 minutes each, and that was recommended. I drank 2 glasses of ozonated water a day, and then I drank, was it 1 to 2 glasses? No, I think it was just 1 cup of colloidal silver a day. And then I changed my diet too. I was a vegetarian, but I didn't know I was an unhealthy vegetarian. And I became vegan. So I took out the dairy, which I had been having problems with dairy for years. So that was the best thing ever. So I took dairy out, took sugar out because we know that feeds cancer. And I took oil out because it causes inflammation and it also scars the inside of the blood vessels. So that's what I did. And no processed food and no fast food. Not that I was eating it anyway. I just became more mindful of that.
So when you was going through that process, let's go back to when you first began to do the Bob Beck protocol. You began to do your, the process that's involved in it. Can you tell me how you was feeling, in emotionally? Did you have the full belief that what you was doing was right and it was going to
I
work,
did.
or did you sort of question, is this going to work? Is it possible?
I totally believed it was going to work. I was convinced. And I was just a little concerned about, I started it slowly and did it over 2 months because I thought, well, I don't know if I'm really going to feel ill or nausea or, stomach issues. I didn't know what colloidal silver was before this or ozonated water. It was all foreign information to me, but it made sense to me. So I had a very strong feeling that it was going to work the whole time I was doing it. And it did.
Did you have any issue buying the distilled water? Because when you're
No,
obviously making colloidal silver, you have to use distilled water. Was there any issues, or is it easy accessible in Canada?
very accessible.
Okay,
Yeah, you
great.
can buy it in any grocery store. You can buy it sometimes even at gas stations, but you can also buy it in, like variety stores, convenience stores. I don't know if that's what you call it in Britain, but yeah,
Can
it's everywhere.
can I ask
And
you?
you can also buy the makers too. If you're having troubles finding distilled water, you can buy a distilled water maker.
Yeah, that's actually what I have. Um, can I ask you, when you first began to do this, and did you speak to your doctor to say that, I'm going to do this, or did they encourage you to go their route? What happened with that situation?
Well, I ignored their phone calls. That's what I did. I'm sure they were trying to get me back in to go for the day surgery. And I refused. There's no way they're taking body parts out of me when I know I could be cured. So yeah, they tried calling me. I just ignored their calls. I didn't tell them piece of fluff. I didn't tell them that I was, doing this Bob Beck protocol. I told her after. Maybe I should have told her before, but I didn't.
So did you feel any fear from the medical side, when they were, perhaps having in their mind that Pixie was going to do one thing, and you actually did the other? Was there any fear that they began to push onto you at all, or was everything pretty
No,
fine?
no. Well, I'm pretty stubborn. My doctor knows this. So there was no convincing me. Once I made up my mind I was going to do it, I did it. And no, so there was no fear. My doctor didn't do that.
Okay, great. You sounds like you have a great doctor, by the way. uh,
She is amazing. By the way, just in her defense, she is trained in herbology. She's taken courses. So whenever she recommends a herb, she'll just write it down on a napkin and say, here, go to the health food store and get this, as opposed to writing it on her doctor's pad with her name and address and number on there. So she is a little bit open. There's a little crack there where we sometimes get in.
yeah. Um, I think my next question is really then, um, why the Bob Beck protocol? I know that you mentioned that you made some adjustments in other areas such as your diet, and I'd like to go
Mhm.
into your diet a little bit as well. But why did the Bob Beck seem to be the right decision for you?
Um, well, for two reasons. It just made sense to me. But also, there was 7 other things that I looked into, 7 other ways of curing cancer. And for one reason or another, I eliminated them all. And I picked the Bob Beck protocol because it seemed, I understood it. It seemed easy. It was convenient. It's something I can do in the comfort of my own home. It's safe. There's no side effects. And then it's always available because I have the equipment here. So whenever I need it, it's available, and it's at my control. I love that, as opposed to going to a clinic and doing some of the other things that I was exploring.
Did the videos that were, I don't know what it was like 7 years ago when you first began to do it. I think the videos were around back then, but did
Yes,
you watch those videos, and did they help and assist you in bringing more faith and courage into what you was doing, knowing that that was the right approach for you?
that's a good question. Well, you don't know Dr. Ben Joseph, and actually Carol Punt talks about him. And that's when I heard her say Dr. Ben Joseph, I immediately went online to YouTube and looked him up. And he talks about all the equipment, and he even says you can, some of this equipment you can actually make yourself. So I thought, okay, good, it's not a scam. Because, you know, at first I'm like, electrical medicine? I don't get it. So I knew it wasn't a scam. What was the question?
Yeah, just wondering, really. I just asked, like, so you were then going into, so I originally asked you about the Bob Beck protocol, and asking whether or not, why the Bob Beck protocol, why did you choose that? And then you began to,
Okay, yeah. Well, the other things that I was looking into, like I made a list because there's so many. Like I spent weeks online researching. I'm like a, I'm a major researcher, and just, like the whole, like heat therapy. They're not doing it in Canada. I'd have to go to Europe to get the heat therapy done. And oxygen therapy, well, I'm claustrophobic, so I don't want to go into a hyperbaric chamber. And B17, that's only for people who are in the early stages of cancer. And sometimes that B17 can also kill good cells, healthy cells in the body. Vitamin C therapy, very expensive, in the thousands of dollars, and it can cause nausea. Sodium bicarbonate, well, they have to put it directly on the cancer, and I wasn't having anybody cut my stomach open. Gerson therapy, you have to go to Mexico. I did not want to do that for the entire time you're going for the treatment up until you're cured, and I thought, I don't want to do that. And then the I think it's pronounced Hawsey tonic, and that's very functional based. I don't know if you know that. How do you say it? Is it Hawsey?
yeah, I think
Something
it's,
like that.
yeah, I think you've got the right pronunciation.
Yeah, it's treating the cause and not the symptoms. But also you have to go, initially you have to go to Mexico for that, because they're not allowed to treat people in the United States. So initially you have to go there and you get tested, and then they look at your lifestyle. It's like a holistic approach. And then they send you home with a customized made tonic. And then you drink that at home and follow whatever protocol they tell you to do. So I eliminated all those things, and it just seemed like the Bob Beck protocol made the most sense. If that answers your question. I hope it does.
The reason why I asked that is because I've gone through everything that you've also gone through. So some of the questions that perhaps make you feel emotional, those are the kind of questions that I had to personally go through. So all the questions, I can relate to everything that you're saying. So I perhaps I'm getting too close to some of the emotional side of things, but
That's okay.
these are some of the things that I was personally going through, the worries and everything else. So I have to ask
Yeah.
those questions.
No, that's totally fine. I want you to.
Yeah. So yeah. So when you came across the Bob Beck protocol, was it like an instant thing where you was like, that is it? This is the one for me.
I was definitely intrigued. And yeah, I think it was more instant. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you started going up from, did you say 15 minutes you started with?
Yeah, I did. 15
So
minutes.
that's the micropulsing,
Blood
yeah,
elect
you
blood
started doing
electrophy.
that from 15 minutes a day, and you worked your way up. Can you tell me, if you can remember that? It was quite a long time ago, but can you remember how you originally started. So 15 minutes, did you do that for 1 week, or did you do 15 minutes for a couple of days, or how did that work
No,
out?
I just did it for one day. I did 15 minutes for one day, and the next day I did it for half an hour, and then 45 and then an hour. Yeah.
I think you absolutely did the right thing. When I first started it, I wanted to play around. I wanted to see how quickly I could actually do it, because in my mind that I was going to I documented everything in order with the idea that I could give it to the NHS. So my plan was, how quickly can I do it? And so when I first started to do it, I felt absolutely terrible. I don't know if you had any feelings of no flu-like
None.
symptoms.
No,
Okay.
nothing.
Well, I certainly did. My joints were aching, and my whole body
Oh,
was
wow.
feeling terrible. And I spoke to a good friend of mine, and I said, "Look, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm feeling." She said, "You're going through a healing crisis." She said, "You
Yeah.
can just carry on." I was like, "Okay, I do feel terrible."
You had a
It,
lot of toxins in your body.
my body was, yeah, my body was obviously saying that, wow, that you've got some problems here, James.
For
So
sure.
yeah, I felt terrible, but I was doing this at the start for 2 hours, and then I built up to doing
Wow.
many hours a day.
Yeah. So
So
how
it
long
was,
did it take you to get over all those ill feelings?
it took about maybe a week, maybe a week to 10 days. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
it was,
It's long.
yeah, it wasn't very enjoyable. But I see that as yeah, as a journey itself, that
Yeah.
in order to kind of experience what it's like, the healing process, and when your body begins to detoxify itself. If I hadn't have done 2 hours instantly, I'd have never kind of got the experience. Because when people go on to the Gerson therapy, or a diet that's really intensive, they also go through these healing crises. So it was kind of interesting for me of what people on these other diets go through as well, because it's not enjoyable.
Hmm.
um, so how did you find the magnetic pulsar? So that's 20 minutes a day, or did you do more a day?
Well, I just did the recommend. Russ recommends 20 minutes a day per, ovary. So I actually didn't start at 20 minutes. I also built up there to 5 minutes a day. So 5 minutes the first time, the next day was 10, and then 15, 20.
Did you use that for your lymphatic system, or where did you put that?
I didn't. I know that's also recommended, but I didn't for whatever reason. Maybe just my gut said I didn't need to. So I didn't. And yeah, after the 2 months, I was great.
Okay,
Down to
great.
12.
What about the ozone, Pixie? Did you using the ozonator? How often did you use that? And so that's one question. But the second question is did you use distilled water, or just did you have a certain process such as reverse osmosis, where you was drinking reverse osmosis, or Canada? I suppose you have pretty good water there anyway.
Well, not really, but that's another topic. I used ozonated water every single time. That was recommended, and I thought, well, I shouldn't use anything else. And I also built up there too. I didn't start with 2 cups a day. I think I started with half a cup a day, and then the next time, not half a cup. Yeah, half a cup. That's right, half a cup at a time. And I built up to 2 cups of the ozonated water.
So the next question I have for you, Pixie. Um, so
And I
once,
drink it every day, by the way,
okay, great.
to clarify.
So when did you begin was there a time when you was using the Bob Beck protocol? So you said 2 months roughly. Was there a
Mhm.
time when you began to feel like more energy, and was there anything noticeable?
Yes, I think it came from the ozonated water. I would often feel euphoric and lots of energy. Maybe it was from the whole process. I'm not sure, but I kind of felt like it was from the ozonated water, drinking that. Even like an hour later, I'd be like, wow, I feel so good.
You're putting oxygen in your body, and every cell in the human body, each one
Mhm.
of those needs 90% of oxygen, which is the main nutrient that the body requires. And we sometimes forget that.
I actually, I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know. That's interesting. 90%.
Okay, so did you start to get regular tests? So once let's go on the journey. So you was doing the Bob Beck protocol for 2 months. Was there any time during that process that you began to get tested, or was there no?
No, no, I actually waited till my next physical, which was, I guess, about 7, 8 months later.
Wow.
Because I knew what my doctor was going to say. I just, I don't want to hear it.
So let's get this right. You did for 2 months. You did the Bob Beck protocol. You felt great, and then you didn't have any more concerns about going to get tested, because most people will say,
I know I should have, but I didn't.
I think out of paranoia, out of worry, people will think, I need to go and get tested to see how I'm doing, because maybe this isn't okay. Did that not cross your mind? Was you not concerned about that?
I wasn't.
Wow.
And you're going to ask me why I wasn't concerned? I just wasn't. I believed it was going to work. It's just like an inner knowing. So I wasn't concerned. And I didn't go testing. I waited till my next yearly physical.
With mine, I could see it visibly.
Yeah.
Shrinking. So it was easier for me to observe what was going on. But when it's internally, and especially, as you said before, when it's in the ovaries, that you don't necessarily have the ability to feel any symptoms. I'm not sure how I would have managed that. Yeah.
You probably would have got tested right after completing the Bob Beck protocol, but I didn't.
I think also out of like interest, of just like wondering, like, how is it working? Is it working? And I'd have had all these other questions. So you must have had so much faith and belief that everything you was doing was so right.
Yeah, that too. And there was a lot going on in my life at that point
Okay.
that was kind of keeping me busy. So that could be one of the reasons.
Wow.
But you're right. If I was serious and I really needed to know, I would have went to my doctor and got retested.
I think
yeah.
I think mine comes out of more of an engineering thing, as like, is it working? Is it working? Just the interest, really. Was there any other kind of good side effects other than you had more energy? Was there anything that kind of just vanished, that maybe you had like other things that you felt wasn't working correctly with the physical body? Was there things that just kind of vanished?
No.
No.
That's the short answer. No, nothing that I can think of. I mean, I haven't been ill in years.
For a moment, can we touch on the diet that you began to adopt as you went on to the protocol? What did that look like? As a basic, waking up, breakfast. Did you have breakfast? Did you have lunch? And how did that kind of look like? What was the kind of foods that you would be eating?
Well, I always eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and usually snacks in between. I have to keep my blood sugar level high, or else I get hysterical. I talk to my friends; they'll tell you. What was I eating for breakfast back then? I can't remember if I was still eating cereal or not. Oh, it's probably oatmeal. Oatmeal. I made my own almond milk. I have an almond milk maker, so I put that in there, and then fruit, and then seeds. And then lunch and dinner, I mean, that can vary. Rice with vegetables, pasta with vegetables and beans. I ate a lot of bean salads, a lot of crucifix vegetables like cabbage, tons of kale, still eat tons of kale. Brussels sprouts, all the things that most people hate. Oh, and broccoli, all the stuff that's good for cancer. And most of my recipes actually came from Forks Over Knives. I don't know if you saw that documentary, but it came from that book.
I've seen it a long time
and that
ago.
documentary focuses on heart disease, Dr. Esselstyn and all his work. Dr. Campbell, who was part of the China study. So most of my recipes came there. So they were so clean. No soy. You can't have soy. But so my recipes were basically grains, nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables, and that's it. Very clean. No oil, like I said, no sugar.
So I take it you've been pretty much on that diet ever since, or
Well,
slightly changed?
after I did the protocol itself, I did go back to cheese a little bit. And I've been having problems with cheese for years. And 3 years ago, I finally had to go off cheese. So for 3 years now, I haven't had, and I did go back to a little bit of sugar too, but for 3 years now, I've been off dairy completely. I've been off sugar completely and no oil. So I'm not going back. I'm vegan, and that's just the way it's going to be. It's the healthiest thing for me.
Pixie, how has your life changed since that first hospital appointment that you had to where you are now? Has there been any real changes towards the way you think and feel and everything
Yeah.
else? Yeah, I'd like to know how your perspective has changed and if it has at all.
Oh my gosh, it's changed so much. Well, first of all, I'm more dedicated to a healthy lifestyle, watching stress levels, getting enough sleep, vitamin D, so important, especially in Canada, we don't get enough sun, exercise and, oh, and spirituality too, like meditation. Oh my gosh, it's so powerful. I never knew. I always thought I couldn't do it. And I usually, when I meditate, I always say, I'm going to do it for 20 minutes. And you wouldn't believe an hour and 20 minutes would go like that. And then I'd say, oh my God, I want to continue. Like, I don't want to stop. So you have to take care of yourself spiritually. So I've changed a lot there, just my whole lifestyle. And also, I'm not afraid of diseases anymore. I feel like the power is in my own hands.
Fantastic.
And this is the age of information, so it's out there for me to find. So I'm not afraid. And what else? I look at life differently, with more gratitude. I look at life with more gratitude, not just within my own life, with my friends and family, and just all the things that I have that some other people don't. But just when I'm out and about, like I look at the sky more and I'm in awe and I'm more appreciative of the sky. And that sounds corny to some people, but it's true. Or, I look at the stars, or when I'm driving, I'll look over at the wild, colorful flowers, and just stuff like that makes me happy. And I didn't really notice stuff like that before, even though I was always into nature and hiking. And, I was always thinking about my busy lifestyle. So yeah, so I'm more mindful. Yeah, what else? I don't know. I let a lot of things go. Like, I don't get as stressed out about silly things. And I'm more forgiving towards people. I let all that stuff go too, because it's stressful, and negative thoughts, creates inflammation, and it's just not worth it. At the end of the day, in the big scheme of things, it doesn't matter. So that's basically how my life changed.
So could you say that the experience that you had, although it's not something that people would choose to go through, it's been like a blessing in disguise?
That's a good question, James. Oh wow, that's a good one. Yes, because of all the positive outcomes that I just mentioned. Yeah, because I never would have been this grateful, and I never would have been this focused on thinking the right thoughts, and just really taking care of my body. And I don't believe now in moderation. They say, oh, you can drink in moderation. I don't drink, by the way. I haven't done that in decades. But people say it's okay to have chocolate. I mean, maybe you believe in chocolate, but I don't personally. It's okay to have these things, and I don't believe in moderation anymore, because I think of it as a little bit of poison. Like dairy, I will never eat dairy ever again.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's toxic for the body. That's just my opinion. And yeah.
So Pixie, I have one final, and it's a big question. It's not necessarily about your own journey, but more about your vision. And it's the vision for the future of how you see medicine, and how does that look?
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think the future of medicine is going to be functional. I think we're going to now really focus on the root cause of illnesses as opposed to treating the symptoms, which don't cure the underlying cause, often doesn't. And the future of medicine is going to be more holistic. It's going to look at the entire person. Are they under a lot of stress? Are they getting enough sleep? Like the things that I mentioned. What's their diet like? Are they getting some exercise? Are they, taking care of themselves spiritually, like meditation or yoga? Also, I think, and also on other things like genetics. You've got to look at genetics too, and also the history of the person's health. And but I think a big part of functional medicine is going to be electrical. That's what I've done. That's what I believe in, and I know it works. And I just think that's going to be a huge part of the future of medicine is electrical medicine.
I do actually have one other question. I have to ask it.
Okay.
Sorry. The last question, I promise. And
No, it's okay.
in your testimonial, you mentioned that if Bob Beck was still alive,
Oh,
that you would love to give him a cuddle.
yeah,
Do you
they
still
wrote
feel
that,
that?
didn't they? Oh my gosh, not a cuddle. I did not say cuddle. I said, first of all, if he would allow me to, I'd give him a giant hug. And
Hug.
then, of course, I would thank him profusely and for helping heal me through the Bob Beck Protocol. But I'd also thank him for getting me so interested in electrical medicine. I actually bought 2 books on electricity. I haven't read them yet, so don't quiz me. But he really got me fascinated about electricity and how it works. And even with grounding too, I'm fascinated.
What a courageous man. He didn't do
Oh,
this for anything else other than to give it to humanity. It wasn't that there was, in fact, he spent his own money in doing the research, and it
yeah,
wasn't actually for anything else apart from HIV and AIDS originally, was it? It was
yeah,
he
HIV.
found the studies, and he began to make the equipment and then do the studies himself, and he spent a lot of money.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, what a courageous man.
yeah, he has integrity. We'll
we,
meet him one day
we're getting there.
in the spiritual world, and
I
can
think we're
thank
getting
him.
there collectively. We're beginning to realize that there's a lot more to this world than making lots of money and having more than the other person next to us.
Yeah,
Pixie, I have to say thank you for your time. These kinds of talks, I think it serves humanity, and it allows people to maybe have some insight and then perhaps go and have a look themselves, because everything you're talking is, of course, your own experience. You're not here to tell anybody else what to do and how to do it,
yeah,
but rather just telling your own story, which is phenomenal, and putting yourself out there, which is which I think people are going to really appreciate this.
yeah.
Um, yeah, thanks again.
No, you're welcome. I just want to be an example for other people.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a positive example.
Okay, perfect. So that's it for us. If you as an audience who's tuning into this would like to know a bit more about who I am, where I come from, a little bit more about what I'm doing, I have presentations I do for free, and I also have a website where I write blogs that interest me, such as body, mind, and spirit, if you like. That's pretty much it. So you can visit me on jamesbushell.uk, and I wish you all well. Stay safe, be happy, and bye for now. Thank you.